They are the tax specialists. Core of opportunities from entire US when it comes to individual taxation, corporate taxation, partnership taxation. They are being recognized by IRS in India. They have done enrolled agent because they are already qualified accountants, they are already qualified CPAs, qualified chartered accountants, and they want to handle US work. Guys that you would see out here who have been hiring enrolled agents, and you would see any big name very much interested in it. But what is the requirement for becoming an enrolled agent? Good guys, welcome guys, welcome to the webinar wherein we will be discussing out various areas in relation to enrolled agent as a qualification. One of the key pointer to start today is, of course, to thank you for taking out your time, because I know it's an important day, and you guys taking time out of your calendar and being here, really appreciate that. But I can tell you one thing wholeheartedly, is that coming 45 minutes or so that I'll be spending out with you, I'm sure that's gonna be leaving out something with you, which you would certainly appreciate over a period of time if you want, or if you're really serious about making your career in the US taxation. That's I can assure, that is something that I can assure, and that is something that I can I'm sure you would really pick it up from here in terms of taking your career to the level that you really want. But before I really go in there, let me introduce myself. I think that's a good starting point for anyone. My name is Pankaj Tigra. I'm a qualified chartered accountant and a US CPA. I've been working for various corporates since last more than 2 decades now. So I've headed the finance for Wipro for a long time. Then moved on as the CFO for BlackRock. Who doesn't know BlackRock? They're the largest asset managers in the world. And then from there, I moved on to head the finance for PCG, the Boston Consulting Group. All throughout my last, I would say, more than 2 decades that I've spent with various corporates, I've been very close to the student fraternity as such, and have been working on various qualifications, namely ACCA, USCPA, enrolled agent, CA, and so on and so forth. And enrolled agent is one of the qualifications that is very close to my heart, and I can, and we'll probably see to the reasons that we really have for it. But one thing that I can really mention you as an overarching statement for enrolled agent is that this is the qualification that takes minimum effort, least amount of money, and give you the maximum return. The ROI on a qualification that we have, the ROI, the return on investment that you would have, both in terms of the effort and of course in terms of the money that you'll be spending on in the US enrolled agent qualification, is certainly going to be giving you returns which are certainly going to be multifold. So from the ROI standpoint, this qualification simply stands apart in terms of, and when we compare it with the rest of the qualifications. So without wasting any time, guys, let's just jump in. I think I do want to give you some time to really come upon towards the end, asking the queries and of course questions with me, and we'll be really discussing out many of those when we'll reach there. So if I really start off the agenda that we have, we certainly going to be deep diving on in terms of what the enrolled agent qualification is, how would this help you, and what does this really mean for you from the eligibility perspective, what does this mean from the examination perspective, what does this mean from the preparation perspective, what do you really need to do to really prepare well and of course kill the exam in the best possible way, what kind of exam structure you will be facing out, what kind of scope that you can really observe out for yourself once you have done this qualification. And of course, towards the end, we'll talk on in terms of, how this is going to be financially fitted onto your budget in terms of, what amount that you would be, you'd be required to spend on if you're serious about taking this qualification. So that's what we'll be covering. That's what we intend to cover in terms of, getting on to the detailing of this qualification. And towards the end, we'll spend some time in terms of discussing with each other, knowing each other, and of course, answering the queries that you may have in terms of helping you take your right next step. Does that sound like a plan? Yes, sir. All right, moving on. Can we move on to the next slide, please? All right, first thing first, let me introduce ourselves in terms of, who we are, what we do, the way we do. I've already given my introduction, guys. I represent the firm named FinTram Global. We are the global I would say, education partner for various global qualifications in and outside India. We work with ACCA London, we work with US EPA, AICPA, we work with enrolled agent qualification, we work with um, the CMA, US CMA qualification with IMA, Institute of Management Accountant. We work with Financial Planning Standard Board, and we are also delivering the Certified Financial Planner as a qualification. And while we deal with all of these international bodies, in India also we deal with various institutions. So we work with all the top-notch B schools in India. We work with XLRI, we work with Liba in Chennai, we work with KGSMA in Mumbai, we work with EDA in Ahmedabad, and so on and so forth. So we have been working out with various bodies in terms of helping the kids really gain the international qualification expertise and of course do well in the career that they have. Gone is the time, my friend, and I'm sure whosoever is joining this webinar, they would certainly have one thing at the back of their mind, is that one thing that is certainly going to be helping them is having a global tag onto their CV. And that's what these global qualification really does to you. You may have an Indian qualification which is a top notch, but if you have a qualification which has a global tinge to it, which has a international touch to it, that really adds up a very different value onto yourself, onto your CV, and onto your credentials. And of course, that can really make you stand apart. This is what really happened when I did my chartered accountancy. And then I decided that I will go for US CPA. Once I did my US CPA, then everything was like, it was like a history for us, because then your pedigree, your scalability, the way the people look at you, the way the people look at your credentials, it really changes. It just changes. And that's what, really makes you more confident, makes you more visible, makes you more need in demand, makes you get into the demand in the market, and so on and so forth, once you have a qualification like this. And that's what these international qualification really does to yourself. And that's what we do when we work with all of these institutions, all of these corporations, because we work with various corporations all throughout India and of course globe, in terms of helping their employees, of course, having these qualifications. I come from various corporates, so you can very well understand the kind of corporate edge that we really bring onto the table when it comes to the curriculums that we really manage. That's about us in terms of what FinTram really does. I do want to talk about the Gleim, because we are the education partner with Gleim, and if you don't know Gleim, I would really want you to research about it. You'll be stunned in terms of the value that Gleim really brings onto the table when it comes to the enrolled agent as a qualification. They are the content provider. They have the proven systems. The kind of coverage that they have is really comprehensive in terms of what they really cover from the scratch, in terms of ensuring that you get the right perspective about the qualification, in terms of you really knowing the qualification right from the scratch, what really gets onto the exam. The kind of LMS that Gleim really provides you has variety of questions. It is an artificial intelligence based platform. We call it to be smart adapt technology platform, which of course helps you in terms of gauging and of course understanding what really goes into the material, into the content, what exam it really tests you on in the exam. And that's what the Gleim really does. And we are proud partner with Gleim in offering E as a qualification to you, because we both have joined our hands, and of course you would get the entire content of Gleim being available to you. And of course the books, the LMS, the questions, the recorded sessions, everything of Gleim will be available to you. And of course, in addition to that, FinTram would be there in terms of helping you going live with the sessions, with the queries, and so on and so forth. So if you do not know Gleim, I would humbly request all of you to really go and research about Gleim. I'm sure that's certainly going to be adding a very different perspective to you. All right, moving on. Can we go on the next slide, please? Now, this is where we should be starting off with. I think the first thing first to really have a discussion relevant for anyone and everyone is to know about you. We're just coming up with a very small poll, and I would humbly request all of you to please fill in. That'll help me understand what is your background. Are you a student? Are you a working professional, and so on and so forth? What has been your qualification? So if you just fill in this poll, that'll help me understanding as to what your background is, so that I can really make this I would say discussion or the webinar very much relevant to you. So I'll give you let's say 15 seconds of time to just fill in this poll. And of course, we'll be more than happy to make our discussion more relevant to you. All right. Now, first thing first is why enrolled agent? I think that's the basic, right? Everyone wants to understand that, why should I really do this qualification? How would this help me? What kind of things I can really expect out of a qualification like this? How would this help me in my present, in my future, and so on and so forth? So I can tell you one thing, guys. Enrolled agent is the only qualification in US which is not restricted to state. And why I'm saying that, even if you are a chartered accountant there, let's say, and in US, the chartered accountants are CPAs, the certified public accountants like myself, all of us, the CPAs, we all have restriction because uh, we are being restricted to handle the accounting and reporting of a particular state because we get licensed basis the state. So, for example, I'm a CPA from the state of Colorado. My friend is a CPA from the state of New York, and my another friend is a CPA from the state of Washington, and so on and so forth. So we are very much restricted to a state. If we have to practice outside a state, we probably have to look for changing our license, adding things, and so on and so forth. However, enrolled agent is the central, I would say, for the lack of better word, qualification for anyone who wants to practice tax in US. They are the tax specialists. They are the one who have an expertise in the tax. They're the one who gets, I would say, plethora of opportunities from entire US when it comes to individual taxation, corporate taxation, partnership taxations, and so on and so forth. They are being recognized by IRS on the holistic basis. And that effectively provides you the flexibility to not only work within US, but also to work out of India, helping the US clients. Many of the folks in India, they have done enrolled agent because they are already qualified accountants, they are already qualified CPAs, qualified chartered accountants, and they want to handle US work. So the kind of value that this qualification really brings on to yourself is because this really gives you an option or an opportunity to have an expertise in the US taxation sitting out right here in India. And then you can, serve some of the CPA clients, some of the direct clients, some of the Indian clients, and so on and so forth who are there in US, and of course managing their taxes, managing their tax returns, and so on and so forth. That's what this qualification really gives you, and it gives you an edge in terms of managing that. And that's the piece I'm talking more about from the perspective of people who are already into the accounting or reporting practice, or who wants to do accounting and reporting practice out of India. But there is a big time scope of job in India when it comes to the enrolled agent, and we'll see that very soon. In a while, we'll see that very soon in a while when we'll get on to the details in terms of the role that you can really look for. Because there are many US companies now who have their back offices now being set out in India, and they're really looking forward for people who understand the US taxes, whether it is county tax, the state tax, the overall corporate tax. They really need the filings to happen, the representation to happen, the income tax forms to be filed, and so on and so forth. So they really need enrolled agent. And many of the big fours, be it PwC, KPMG, EY, and so on and so forth, or the US companies, they are really looking forward hiring enrolled agent because they have their complete tax office now being set up in the cities like Hyderabad, in Gurgaon, in Pune, in Bangalore, and so on and so forth. So you name it, and you would find these companies, and most of these companies, they have their uh, tax office now being sitting out right here, because everything and anything that they have to do on the ongoing tax compliance perspective is being managed out here. And that's where the demand of enrolled agent has really gone up, both in terms of the jobs that are there, and of course you should type on Google in terms of the enrolled agent that jobs that we have in India. You'll be stunned to see that. And on the other hand, this really gives you an opportunity to practice. And over and above, the icing on the cake is with which I started off with is that the kind of return on investment that you have when it comes to the enrolled agent as a qualification is huge, because the money that you may really make out once you have a qualification like this is certainly doesn't really match up to the cost that you'll be incurring. Cost is really low, but the benefits are really high. That's what really makes this qualification different, and that's what is the reason why you should become an enrolled agent as soon as possible. Should we go ahead? On to the next slide, please. All right, now this comes, guys. What is the requirement? I want to give an IRS exam, sir. I want to become an enrolled agent. I do want to become an enrolled agent. I'm very much interested in it. But what is the requirement for becoming an enrolled agent? How can I become an enrolled agent? And of course, what do I really need to do? So I can tell you one thing: there is no requirement that is there for you to become an enrolled agent. As in, when I say no requirement, you can start pursuing enrolled agent right after the class 12th. Once you've done the class 12, start off with the IRS, and of course, complete that with the graduation. So it just doesn't take any prerequisite kind of a thing for anyone to really be showcasing. Whatever streams you come from, there is no restriction on the streams. Any stream would help. Tax is something very much different. So they are not restricting any field, any background. They just want you to come in, learn the taxes, and move on. There are 3 exams, and we'll soon get to see that as to what that is. There are 3 exams. We call it to be 3 parts that you really need to appear and, of course, clear and become an enrolled agent and start practicing taxation in US if you want to. Can I move ahead, please? All right. Now, I'm very much interested, considering I'm very keen to know US taxation. I'm very keen to really practice taxation. And that actually brings me to a very important point. Sir, in India, and this I generally used to hear out a lot when it comes to the Indian students. In India, the tax practice is generally being done by a chartered accountant. So why enrolled agent is a different qualification in US as compared to CPA? Because enrolled agents are the one who IRS really recognize. The Internal Revenue Services, the so-called Income Tax Office of US, they recognize enrolled agent as a qualification because they want the enrolled agent to prepare, to certify, and to file, and to represent the client in the IRS. That is the reason this qualification revolves around IRS. They are being certified by IRS, they are being given by IRS, and not any other body. So when it comes to the accounting and reporting as a qualification, CPA is the peak. Of course, CPA has to understand tax, hence the regulation is there. But when it comes to the tax compliances, IRS is the qualification that one should look forward to when it comes to the US taxes. So this effectively gives you a seat at the table in the IRS because you are a certified enrolled agent and you can really represent the SSC, do what an SSC really needs as far as their filing is concerned, taxes are concerned, compliances are concerned, representation is concerned, and so on and so forth. So anything and everything that one has to really manage from the tax compliance side of it, IRS gives you the empowers you to really manage that on the behalf of client, and that's how this qualification is being differentiated there. From the requirement perspective, you can of course start pursuing it after class 12th. Many of our students are the BCom students, the qualified chartered accountants who want to do that, the MBAs who want to do that. Some of them are like after 12th who want to do that, and so on and so forth. There we get variety of students across the globe in terms of the people are very much interested in terms of having this qualification, and of course do what they really want to do in the companies, outside the companies, practicing on their own, and so on and so forth. So there's huge, I would say, scope that gets actually opened up once you have a qualification like this. What kind of curriculum that you really need to study? Since we're talking about taxes, it has to deal with various, I would say, shapes and formats that you have to deal with in the US taxation. For example, when it comes to managing the taxes, you have to deal with the individual. So part 1 really takes on the individual taxation. It really talks on the kind of assessees that are there in US, the tax structures that are there in US. It really circles around in terms of what you really need to do in terms of filing an income tax return, what kind of items are being taxable there, what kind of deductions are being there, what kind of exemptions are being there, and so on and so forth. And of course, that really gives you a specialized knowledge, if I may say that, for the purpose of filing the returns in US when it comes to the individual, which is huge, my friend, I can tell you, as a job, which is huge in terms of scope, which is huge in terms of the money that you can generate if you have that specialized knowledge. That's one. The second piece that you really study out here is the corporates, the businesses. You really learn in terms of, what kind of businesses that are being existent there, whether it is partnership, whether it is corporation, and within corporation, whether it is C corporation, S corporation, and so on and so forth. So you learn all of that. And then you learn in terms of, what kind of returns that are being needed, what kind of filings that they really need to do, what kind of tax dates that they really need to adhere of, what kind of tax forms they really need to file, when they do really need to file, and so on and so forth. So all of that is something that is very much covered when it comes to the businesses. So you deal with different kind of businesses and understand their compliances from the perspective of taxation. Is that clear? Yes. Now that you have done, my friend, the individuals, you have done the businesses in terms of different businesses that we have. Now is the time wherein you probably have to understand what kind of representation, what kind of procedures, the practices that you really need to follow in terms of representing an SSC in front of an IRS. That's the paper 3, my friend. That's the part 3, which really gives you an expertise in terms of, understanding the procedures, the policies, the practice mechanism, what you really need to have from the US taxation perspective. This actually gives you a flavor of, how would you represent an SSE, what kind of forms are to be used, what is the filing process, and so on and so forth. So this effectively covers a hell lot of areas when it comes to the practices and procedures, and of course, representation of the SSE in the I would say IRS, and of course helping your SSE get represented there. All right, can you move on to the next slide, please? Now, one thing that I really want to talk on is that these 3 exams that you need to give, you probably can appear for, in any sequence. There is no sequence that is needed. Whatever you want to give, you can give. You're free to do that. Of course, we follow a mechanism. We'll be guiding you that. But what you really need to do is that, you'll be preparing for the exams. And all of the exams, just to let you know, are multiple choice question exams. There are no like subjective answers that you need to give. You would get 100 questions that you need to answer in 3.5 hours. You answer that, move on. All right, moving on. What kind of job prospects that you have as an enrolled agent? I can tell you, you should certainly go and check out on Google in terms of, what kind of jobs that you have been observing, for enrolled agent. If I can move on to the next slide, please. I think that will be more relevant to really speak out. Now, these are some of the names, guys, that you would see out here who have been hiring enrolled agents, and you would see any big name out here, and you would understand that, all of these companies have somewhere connect in US, and they really need the enrolled agent to really come on to the board, whether it is the big four audit firms, Deloitte, KPMG, EY, PwC, RSM, Grant Thornton, BDO, and so on and so forth. All of our, many of our students work out here, let me tell you that. Whether it is the international uh, or multinational Indian firms, Wipro, Infosys, Cognizant, the reason why they hire is because somewhere they are managing the tax work of many of the US companies. So they also hire in terms of, managing those tax work, and of course, giving back to the client what exactly they need. Many of the consulting firms or the corporates are now having their global capability centers now sitting out here in India, whether it is Bain, whether it is McKinsey, BCG, whether it is Johnson, TCS, Morgan, MetLife, Goldman Sachs, and some of them banks are also very much looking forward to Citi, Standard Chart, HSBC, Bank of America, the Barclays, and so on and so forth, the JP Morgans of the world, the World Bank for that matter, the State Street, American Express, you name it. And this is just not an exhaustive list, guys. There are pretty many names, that you would see. And you would see that many of them either have their own tax centers now here in India, or they're managing the client work, or they're managing, the parts and pieces of tax right now here in India. And that's where the job prospect for a qualification like this really goes up. You generally being hired as a tax expert, you're being looked upon as a tax expert. And then, as you grow, you get a you become a senior tax expert, you become assistant manager, deputy manager, manager tax, you become senior manager tax, and so on and so forth, depending on which qualification, which company you join, and so on and so forth. That's where, this qualification really helps you in terms of having a seat at the table in these companies when it comes to the US taxes, because any of the Indian tax guy would not understand this. And that is the reason, even when they're hiring Indian chartered accountants, even when they're hiring the Indian BComs, they're wanting them to do EA. We work with many corporates who are hiring BComs, hiring MComs, and then they're wanting them to do EA. And of course, we are training them on EA as a qualification. So that's where the edge is. This really shifts a brings a very different level of shift in your compensation. And the next slide really, really talks about that, the kind of salary potential that this qualification really has for you. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So if you really see this, the kind of salary potential at the entry level that we have is, we generally say that, we should anywhere get between 4 to 6 lakhs of rupees at a start. When it comes to the mid level, you generally should be able to get, from 6 to 10 lakhs of a salary, which is huge, guys. If you have 3-4 years of experience, 6 to 10 lakhs of salary is huge in terms of the money that you'll be able to drive. And of course, if you're a senior level employee, there is no limit to it. We somewhere expect 10 to 15 lakhs and even more. Some of our students are already drawing that, in terms of, really having a seat at the table in those I would say corporates, because they have really proved their mettle. They've really proved that the worth that they really bring onto the table when they have a qualification like this. And FinTram Global really, is proud enough for really helping those folks, sail through the entire journey in terms of helping them really achieve this. And of course, circling down to the fact that now they're being able to contribute to the organization in the best possible way. Can you move on to the next slide, please? All right, now what do we offer in this curriculum? We just started off mentioning you about Gleim. So, since we are the education partner with Gleim, you would get anything and everything that Gleim really brings onto the table. You'll get their elements, you'll get their study content. We'll give you hard copy books. We'll also be giving you the recorded lectures of Gleim. That's really important if you want to, really look for, what they say on it. So you can really see that. In the LMS, we have plethora of questions. MCQ questions are huge in terms of, what you can practice. And I can tell you, many of those questions are like the past exam questions. So that can really give you a flavor in terms of, how does the exam is going to be looking for you. So that's again something to look forward. In addition to that, what you really get from us is that you would be getting live interactive sessions that like what we're having today. We will be having these sessions in terms of, having a chat together, having you, sail through together in terms of, having, I would say, having the best possible results for yourself when it comes to the qualification and of course, each and every part. So you would be getting the recorded sessions, you'll be getting the juice notes that we really prepare in terms of presentations that you can really refer to. And of course, you would also be helped out in terms of, getting the right level of mentoring that you really need in terms of, ensuring that you're able to contribute to the organization in the best possible way. So all of that is being given when it comes to the EA as an offering. And of course, in addition to that, what we really help you with is hand-holding in terms of the entire registration process that you would have to go through when it comes to the IRS, when it comes to the licensing and so on and so forth. So everything is something that our team out here would be supporting you out in that journey. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So why choosing us, guys? I think that's really important question for anyone to really understand. One thing that really makes us stand apart is, of course, that we are very much trusted not only by in India, outside India, but also with by various business schools in India. That really differentiates us, various corporates in India. And part of that also circles down to the fact that most of our trainers come from corporate. So we really try to bring a very different value onto the table. We, of course, work on our own content. So we would be providing you some of the comprehensive content that is really needed in terms of, dealing with the exams. So we would be providing you that. The mentoring that we provide is, of course, stands apart because the live sessions really helps you gauge or get the maximum benefit of course, knowing what exactly comes into the exam and how to really handle that or manage that in the best possible way. So that's again something to look forward to. The end-to-end support that you really need, starting from the registration that you really need to do, or exam registration that you really need to have, or the license that you really need to apply to IRS. Everything is something that we'll be managing. And of course, icing on the cake is that while we do provide the live sessions, the recordings of these live sessions are also being provided to you. So everything from start to end is being managed by us in terms of helping you have this qualification if in a best possible way, and of course, as soon as possible way, if I may say that. Can I move on to the next slide, please? Now, if I really talk on, the one of the very important aspect of any exam is that how much is the cost that you really need to spend on. So what we see over here is the cost that we'll be paying either to the IRS or to the licensing for the licenses. So you would have to pay approximately 21,700 rupees per exam. So there are 3 exams. So I can really total this out to be around 64,000 rupees that you really need to pay for all the 3 exams as the exam fees. In addition to that, you have to take the identification number for yourself from IRS. That really costs you around 1,600 rupees. So if I really total this out, the total becomes around 66,000 in total. And if I really see the enrollment fees that you really need to deposit for practicing before the IRS, that is around 12,000 rupees. So if I really total out everything, it is around 76,000 rupees that you need to spend to give to US, not to us, but to US, in terms of having a license, and provided you clear all the exams in the first attempt. That is the maximum fee that you'll be paying, 77,000 rupees for having a qualification like this. In addition to that, of course, you have to pay the preparation fees, the course fees for preparing for all 3 exams. And can you move on to the next slide, please? The entire preparation fee, for that Gleim really charges is of course 70,000 rupees that will be charged out for for having all the 3 parts coaching being done. But what we as FinTram, considering we are the licensed partner with Gleim, and of course we worked with them, and of course with the fraternity at large, if we can really share with you the kind of opportunity that we really bring for you. If I can move on to the next slide, please. The course fee, is not 70,000 with us. We are only charging 59,990, and that includes GST. That's something which is huge in terms of the benefit that we are able to provide. So you just have to spend like 59,990, and in that what you would get is of course the 24 months access that the Gleim really have, which has the LMS access, which has the textbook, the mock exams, which are like unlimited mock exams that you can really apply, the practice questions that you have, the recording of the video lectures, and of course the kind of AI mechanism that we really follow. And in addition to that, as I said, there are a few complementary things that we provide. We help you with the live online sessions, we help you with the recording of those sessions, we help you with the I would say the revision boot camps, wherein we'll be revising the content, practicing the questions, test bank sessions that we do, the doubt clearing sessions that we do, and of course the entire overall assistance that we really help you with when it comes to the registrations, whether it is PTIN or whether it is with IRS. We really help you out with. And of course, towards the end, once you've done that, we'll certainly be helping you to get into the eyes of various corporates and giving you the placement assistance that you really need in terms of really get onto the table and of course skill that in the best possible way. That effectively brings me to the end, guys, in terms of what we really wanted to cover today. There is a poll that we'll be picking up. It is more to understand and have a feedback onto our session today. If have you opened the poll, guys? That will be more like a feedback poll for us in terms of improving our sessions in the best possible way. I'll just quickly spend 15 seconds of time and allow you to put in your revert on the poll, and then we'll open up for the Q&A. Can I request everyone to please fill in the poll, the feedback poll for us, and then we'll open up for the Q&A. That really opens up for the Q&A, guys. Anything and that you would want to ask, please put it on a chat, guys. We'll be happy to pick it up. Does anyone have any question, guys? This is your time, guys. We still have 5 minutes left for this. So any question, anyone will be more than happy to answer that. All right. If there is nothing, guys, we'll be more than happy to help you and of course answer your queries offline. You can of course reach out to our team. Number is being provided out here. In case you're serious about taking your next right step and of course enrolling yourself, link is being provided out here to of course block your seat and get the benefit of 15,000 rupees. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thanks for really letting me know that I was on mute. So guys, I think this really wraps it up, the entire session today. And of course, if there is any question that really comes onto your mind, you can certainly, circle back with the team out here. Number is being provided out. And of course, the counselor is being provided out to you. You can reach out to them, talk to them, get any, queries, clarification that is being needed. Link is also being provided for you to avail the benefit of 15,000 plus taxes for yourself. In case you're serious about taking EA as your right next step, then this is the time to move on. This is the time to take the benefit. You can, of course, make the payment of 5,000 rupees and block your seat and, of course, move forward. If there is nothing, guys, we'll wrap this up. I'll give you back your time. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll certainly see and, of course, circle back as soon as possible. And, of course, I'll see you in the class. Thank you very much. Look forward.